Mark Rogers TV talking Tennessee football in the aftermath of the Vols' heartbreaking loss in Gainesville, the second consecutive time the Vols have let a lead slip away in remarkable fashion in the swamp. We bring in Mike LaValle from Last Word on College Football to help us somehow break it down, run through this one, and then look ahead to how Tennessee and Butch Jones can get off the mat. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Mark, I'm doing okay considering the circumstances. You said heartbreaking. You could use gut-wrenching. You could use soul-crushing. There's about 1,000 adjectives you could use for volunteer fans right now about this game yesterday. And as long as they were all negative, then they would all be accurate.
There was the play that Florida made or failed to make. They could have sealed the game earlier in the fourth quarter when the ball was fumbled through the end zone, that it somehow seemed at that point that Tennessee was going to rally up a last-minute surge as it did against Georgia Tech and somehow exercise some demons there in Gainesville. And it appeared that way until the final play, when let's go directly to that, because that's the play that everyone's talking about and will talk about, especially if Florida hangs on to win the SEC Eastern Division. Philippi Franks throws the best toss of his life. I don't know that everybody can appreciate how well thrown that ball was, considering that he was near the right sideline, within 10 to 12 yards of the right sideline, and threw that ball all the way to the middle of the field and basically the post right down the middle of the field, and had to just launch the football. And the trajectory, the timing, everything was perfect. And the defensive back for Tennessee, it's easy to criticize now, but should have known that there was no way that the ball was going to be thrown all the way across the field to the left corner. So he should have guarded that territory a little bit better.
Yeah, certainly, Mark. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in that play. First of all, it's inexcusable. I mean, if you're the two deep safeties back there, you can't let anybody get behind you. A lot of people don't see that. What Tennessee was actually more worried about, what they were focused on, was Florida not getting. They had 9 seconds on the clock, not getting a 30 or 40-yard pass down to the 50 or the 40. Florida's kicker Pinero has allegedly hit a 70-yarder in high school. You think that they'd probably line up and kick at 60 yards tops, maybe 61, 62. So you do the math. If they get to the 45, that's a 62-yarder. They were on about their 38, I believe. So Tennessee's trying to prevent them from getting that 30-yard pass. I think the two deep safeties just got fixated on making sure they didn't give up the 30 or 40-yard pass instead of the 65-yard touchdown. Now, the problem with that, first of all, let's be clear, that's not an excuse. The problem with that is you should have about 6 people in the defensive backfield. You should have 2 guys all the way back, like on the goal line. And then you have 2 other guys underneath that, and then 2 other guys, and plus the linebackers patrolling that 50-yard line. You pick up a guy. So it was a completely inexcusable defensive play breakdown on a couple levels. There. It's just, like you said at the beginning, heart-wrenching, soul-crushing, or heartbreaking, soul-crushing, gut-wrenching. Just a breakdown on a lot of levels. Credit to Felipe Franks. The kid threw a 65-yard strike through the air, a fantastic ball. The receiver caught it, as opposed to Georgia a couple years ago when the Georgia receiver dropped the game-winning touchdown in Neyland Stadium on a very similar play with a few seconds left to go in the game. So credit to Felipe Franks, credit to Florida. They did what they had to do, and they came out with a victory. But just an absolute inexcusable breakdown on a couple levels on the Tennessee defense. A defense that had played so well up to that point after coming in maligned by a lot of people. Bob Shoop was the ire of a lot of anger from Vol Nation over the last 2 weeks after giving up about 5,000 yards to Georgia Tech on the ground. The defense played really well yesterday. 7 of Florida's points came off the pick six, and 2 more scoring chances came off of bad offensive drives. They gave Florida good field position. Other than the first drive and the last drive, the defense played well, but that was just that one play. That one play is a microcosm of the Butch Jones era in Tennessee. A lot of progress made. You get to a point where you think you can move forward and win, and win 2 in a row, win 1 in Gainesville, and then just an absolute disaster strikes at the last moment.